Today's show, obviously, most of you know I've been talking about the grid shutdowns over the last few months especially, but over the last couple of years. I've talked about Plum Island and how they're running experiments for a grid shutdown on Plum Island. Surprise, surprise, which, by the way, they're trying to save Plum Island. I don't know if anyone's heard about that. I'll do that in a separate video. But apparently Plum Island is in danger of being shut down, and they want to make it like a landmark, a historic landmark. That's how unbelievable these people are. It's a historic landmark to them because that's where they've created all these diseases like Lyme's disease and sent them off into our country and gotten people sick. And you've seen all the mutated animals that have washed on shore. If you haven't, you could just Google that. That's Plum Island if you're interested. That's your Department of Homeland Security and your CDC and all these, so-called government agencies that have our best interest at heart. But anyway, the Plum Island has been used for experiments now on the power grid. And obviously we know that they're hinting at the power grid. That's this whole stuff with Russia, right? The focus now is going to slowly shift from Russia and Ukraine to Russia and America. You could hear the narrative. They've even put in new regulations on YouTube about talking about Russia and Ukraine and America because they don't want people to wake up to the fact that these people are all in on it together. I don't think they expected people to connect dots so much with the World Economic Forum and how all these leaders meet together and they all have to, they're all getting lectured by Klaus Schwab. If you were like independent of these governments or you were a nationalist, you would not show up at these. Trump shows up, Putin shows up. You would not. I mean, would you if you were the president and you were a nationalist? No, you would not. And you wouldn't sit there listening to some old fart lecture you about how we need to reset everything and follow his playbook. But of course, he's a Rothschild, so we know why they have to follow his playbook. So the grid is now going to be a bigger, hotter topic amongst people like me, at least, because we know that's what's going to be targeted. People are going to be looking up. They're going to be looking for a 9/2001 event, 11, I'm talking about, type of event occurring, which very well they could create because they can create anything at this point and people will believe it. Like I've said before, they could have the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man show up, show you actual clip from Ghostbusters and tell you what really happened, and these people will believe it. That's how bad this is getting. But the grid is going to be a target. Why? Resetting things will cause chaos. Resetting things will make people be more interested or be seduced into getting a chip. It'll make people need food, need water, be more dependent on the government. The government can be the hero, the big brother. As we can see around the world, people are getting very suspicious of their governments because of all the stuff that's going on. But there's, of course, the left and right paradigm staying in between, keeping people from actually calling out their governments on what they're doing, how they're supposed to be working for us, and they're not. But the narrative now is that the grid is extremely vulnerable. And here's a story from the Wall Street Journal about electricity shortage warnings growing across the U.S. And we're hearing some of the most bizarre stories. I'm going to show you some clips right here about the grid shutdown. First of all, we have Texas. They're warning about heat waves in May that could shut the grid down. We have California. They're telling you in the summer to expect blackouts. They're even telling people that animals are going to cause the grid to go down or electrical grids to be shut down.
Could be a rough summer for us. Operators of the state's power grid says that we are facing a shortfall of energy that could result in power outages. KPX5's Stephen Feely's got that story.
When temperatures soar this summer, California could be plunged into darkness with large swaths of the state threatened by power outages.
Whenever there is a heat event, that's when the grid is being taxed the most because people are needing to pull down their air conditioning, refrigeration for their food, all these sort of things. And when you have 40 million people doing it at the same time, that's a lot of stress in the entire system.
The operators of the state's power grid estimate that come summertime, they may be short 1,700 megawatts. That's enough to power more than 1.2 million homes statewide. The problem, UC Davis researcher Keith Taylor says, is a result of aging and underfunded infrastructure that has not done nearly enough to maximize the potential of newer technologies like wind and solar.
When it comes to this intermittent technology, such as solar and wind, we need to have battery technology going online. Sure, we've been doing a lot more of that, but we need to do more, faster, and bigger.
So with summer fast approaching, is there more that we can do than just having flashlights and candles at the ready? Experts say consider a generator and other backup power supplies.
We know about our state's energy needs. I think it's on all Californians to really have the preparedness and make sure that we're ready for those days.
A little preparation now, he says, might spare us some of the discomfort of a long, hot summer and the inconvenience of seemingly inevitable outages.
That was ABC, by the way, showing you animals getting, eating electrical box. I mean, the stuff they come up with. Birds sitting on the birds are sitting on the telephone wires. Guess the power's going to go out for 3 months. Yeah, like I said, people will believe it. They will believe anything. And that's why they've created such a prideful society, because these people will never, ever, because when all this stuff happens, I know some people out there who are new to this, they're going to be like, well, see, I told you so, and expect their friends to agree with them, or be like, hey, I told you about that call for an uprising guy. He said that this was going to occur. They're not going to listen one bit. They're still going to believe the narrative that gets spewed to them from the government. They'll still believe it. Why? Because of pride. They don't want to think that they think they're so smart, the conspiracy theory. They don't like it because we all grew up in the same world, the same lies, the same schooling. And the fact that people have been able to figure out what's really going on bothers them because they feel really dumb. So they will never allow that. So they'll constantly be protecting their ego and their pride, which is fine by me. I don't do this so anybody can kiss my rear end. I don't show my face for a reason because I don't want to be famous. I don't want people kissing my rear end. I don't like it. I'm uncomfortable with it. I do this to try to help people. And when stuff goes down, I want to make sure everybody's prepared who listens to my channel. And hopefully we all come out of it on the other side. And then we'll see and we'll reassess what needs to be done. But for the time being, we're seeing California to Texas, Indiana electric grid operators are warning that power generating capacity is struggling to keep up with demand, a gap that could lead to rolling blackouts during heat waves and other peak periods as soon as this year. I have two things I want to point out here that are important. One is that you can expect what we've seen in the UK and other countries to happen here in America, which is telling people to shut their grids off. Shut their home power off, to not use power. And telling people that you're being a good citizen by doing it. You're being a good person. This will be another way, just like the potion, right? Instead of the potion being about, oh, you took the potion, you're immune, you're protected. It's about, you took the potion, but you should hate people who don't because they don't want to take it and you could still get sick and they're being selfish. That was the narrative. They could just use that narrative for everything and these idiots will buy into it. So they can come out and say, well, we're all going to shut our power off and, they'll see people who have it on and they'll go in their lawn. They'll be like, you should turn it off. You're being selfish. We're all shutting ours off. Can't you do a little bit to help out your community? Right. And then when they pull the actual plug, they'll blame it on people like who decide not to shut their power off. And then the other thing I want to point out, because I know that sounds insane, but it's definitely a possibility. And it's happening around the world. People are willingly turning off their power in protest of how much money these places are making off of, the price of electricity and blah, blah, blah. The other thing is that Texas and Florida, I've talked about this about 2 or 3 years ago, frightened me from the standpoint of they're such honeypots. By that, I mean, the media has gone out of their way to make it, obviously to crap on Texas and Florida, which would make people who are quote unquote Republican or awake to want to go there because they make it seem like, well, they're so bad in Texas and Florida. They don't wear masks and do this stuff. So everybody who's obviously against it would be like, wow, it's really there's a lot of freedom there and things like that. And Texas and Florida have been two places they've been trying to wipe out with with weather manipulation, which scares me, which is why I'm worried about people who are there. I know a lot of people listen to my channel there, and I'm extremely worried about you. I hope I'm wrong. And of course, there's a chance that I'm wrong. It's just how my brain operates when I think about these things. Like, why are they telling you to go there? Why are they pushing this? And Florida and Texas are two places. But Texas, not just with the weather, has been a constant narrative of a grid shutdown. We've heard it so many times over the last couple of years about them not being able to manage their grid in Texas. And now we're even hearing it. It's the first weekend of May just occurred and the first 2 weekends. And they literally are spewing stuff about grid shutdowns from heat. I mean, what is it? Is it Death Valley in Texas in May? It's not overly ridiculously hot, but they're prepping people. Why are they prepping people in California? They're prepping people in California for grid, power outages, blackouts, long-term, water shortages. It's insane. And then, of course, all you have to do is take a look at where all the Hollywood engineers are going, where are all the celebrities going. They're all fleeing out of California. Why? Well, they seem to love Governor Newsom. They seem to love California and its liberalism. Why are they fleeing? Because they know what's coming. That's why. Because all these people who are members of secret societies are in on it, and they know what the plan is, and they know how to continue to groom people into following their plan, but they all seem to be leaving and evacuating. So they're telling you now, I mean, this is so ridiculous. They're telling you that, this is from California. California's grid operator said Friday anticipates a shortfall in supplies this summer, especially if extreme heat, wildfires, or delays in bringing new power sources online. Think about this. You have wildfires in California and extreme heat, okay? Still, nobody looks at weather manipulation and HARP. Nobody looks at the fact that even if you have the mindset and you go, okay, I know the government has the ability to do it, because you have to have common sense and know that they can do it. They've told you that they can do it. If you don't want to believe that the government is creating fires and manipulating hurricanes and things like that, then believe it from the other perspective, because they have the ability. So then you should be thinking to yourself, well, then why aren't they creating storms to put out these fires? Oh, right, because they don't want to do that, do they? They don't want to protect the grid, do they? If they did, wouldn't it be a national concern? Wouldn't it be a top story? Think about the chaos that would ensue without power and electricity and cell phones. Oh, right. Mass chaos, but that's what they want. So they don't want to warn you about that. They just, again, want you to talk about what a woman is. So they're hinting at this grid shutdown again and again and again, and you're going to continue to hear it. Does that mean the entire country would go down? No, but there could be places like you could see the entire state of Texas. It wouldn't shock me. California always doing stuff over there, especially with the weather manipulation. Florida, these are places to look at. They're even mentioning Indiana here. So keep your eye on this story with the electric grid. And, it's not hard to see. We know that if they cared about the grid and they cared about citizens, they would protect the grid. Why would the grid be so open? There's better security at Walmart than there is at the grid. If you saw the video I did a couple of months ago, they're literally showing it's just a fence. No barbed wire even. Just a fence that's, somebody can walk right through. You've seen better security outside of 7-Eleven. You think it's being done on purpose? Yeah, it is. Because then when it happens, they're going to go, we should have done more to protect. Oh, okay. But still, nobody will blame Big Brother because they don't want to, because of their pride. So the grid shutdown is still a narrative. Keep your eye on that. I hope everybody out there is doing well. Around here, check out the website at callfornuprising.com. Lots of stuff going on over there in the forum, talking about the zero tolerance stuff going on in China, which is coming here to America. It's important that you know about it so you're mentally prepared for the type of crap that they're going to pull. Obviously, they do it different in different countries based on the civilians and the citizens. Here, the psychological warfare is so unbelievable. Other countries, we look at other countries and we're like, that'll never happen in America. Other countries look at us and they go, wow, you have people that actually want to go into classrooms of third graders and talk about chopping off wee-wees and stuff. Yeah, we do in this country. And then those people literally think that they're sane, good people when they should be in asylums. That's what's going on here. So don't think for 1 second what's going on in China isn't going to come here. It's just going to be wrapped in a different presentation. Okay? It's already happening with the disinformation board and this type of stuff. Regulation, free speech taken away. Here they say hate speech. That's how they get it, get people to get on board with it. But then they look at China and they're like, that will never happen here. That's horrible. It is happening here. Hate speech is a loose term based on your feelings and what you care, what matters to you. So, some person could say something to me and I could consider it hurtful and hateful. And to them, they're like, how does that hurt your feelings? Right? I could be like, yeah, it does. Just like I don't understand how some of the stuff I say hurts other people's feelings. I didn't know, now I'm aware of how soft people are. It's pathetic, but that is why we are where we are.